My name is Jillian Perrick, and I'm a lover of all things orange chocolate. Think One Tree Hill is way better than the OC. And as a person who stutters, I hope to one day inspire women with invisible disabilities to overcome their limiting beliefs and start the business of their dreams, just like I did. I'm a mindset coach specializing in imposter syndrome, helping women beat their inner imposter using neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and time techniques. And this is the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. This podcast is for you if you're an entrepreneurial woman trying to navigate the online space with a lot of passion and a lot of uncertainty. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. This podcast will take you from imposter to empowered with ninja-like brain hacks, easy to implement strategies, and uplifting real talk to make you feel like everything you want is in reach. Let's get started, girlfriend. Hello and welcome back to From Imposter to Empowered. Today's episode is going to be about self-forgiveness. It's going to be relatively short because it's basically a precursor to a free live video, I guess you could say, in my Facebook group, and it's going to be a self-forgiveness ritual. This is something I actually did recently in regards to money. I was reading Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. I forget what the author's name is, but it was amazing. It was a really good book. If you haven't read it, you definitely should, especially if you're an entrepreneur growing your business. But it can basically apply to anybody, and I really liked it because what I did was actually a forgiveness ritual, which I'll be doing with you in the forgiveness ritual that I'm going to hold in my Facebook group. And it kind of had me thinking about imposter syndrome specifically and forgiving yourself for the things that you believe about yourself or those hardships that we've endured. So I'll try and give you some examples in terms of with money. Like I used to tell myself that I'm not good with money, that I can't hold on to money, that I don't deserve money, just like, regular beliefs around money. And the thing about this is that by holding on to those beliefs, I was also holding on to the guilt and the shame around thinking those things about myself. And when it comes to personal development and I feel like we spend a lot of time shaming ourselves. Like, for example, whenever I'm meditating, whenever my mind wanders, I have to remind myself, don't be judgmental of myself that I can't sit still for 10 minutes without my thoughts deviating. Because I think in the beginning, a lot of personal development can feel like you're shaming yourself because you think you should be acting a certain way or thinking a certain way, but it's really just the practice of bringing yourself back to awareness and realize if you're having negative thoughts or if you're being judgmental or whatever, and then pattern interrupting those thoughts. It's never about being perfect, and I think that has to do with all types of personal development, but we spend a lot of our time shaming ourselves for the decisions that we make, whether it's subconscious or not, whether we consciously think oh wow, I feel like shit about this, or whether the guilt and the shame is more subconscious where you're not really thinking that you're shaming yourself, but you are because you're punishing yourself by sabotaging yourself in different ways. Kind of like how someone who would overeat is punishing themselves for a certain reason, similar to that. That also has me thinking about some relationships where people push away people that are trying to love them because they feel like they're undeserving of love for some reason. So they're punishing themselves by pushing those people away. Anyways, the point of this is to get across that when I was thinking about imposter syndrome specifically, I was thinking that forgiveness really helped me overcome those inner impostery thoughts, and it's that compassion and self-forgiveness that helps me move forward from those thoughts that I have about myself. It's that, wow, what I'm doing isn't good enough, and then I turn around and say, it is good enough, you're doing your best, you're just learning, it's not hard, it's just new. And this is a conscious track that I've had to put myself on. If you have seen some of my content before, then you may know the ski analogy, and if you don't, then I'll repeat it for you. But our neurons in our brain are those neural pathways that we are so used to taking, those subconscious self-sabotaging thoughts, those negative thoughts. Those are the grooves in the snow that we ski down all the time. We're so used to it. It's the pathway. It's nice and groomed, and like we've been there so many times before. But to veer off track is to go down a different path, to create a new path. And even though it may seem like you're never going to be able to get down it, or it's hard to deviate from the groomed path, it's really important to keep doing that, to keep pattern interrupting your thoughts and keep showing up for yourself with compassion and self-forgiveness, because over time that more positive way of thinking is going to become a groomed path, and it's going to be where your skis automatically start to go. So right now, if you're really in the thick of feeling like an imposter and you don't feel good enough and you feel like you have to hustle for your worth and you're procrastinating and you have perfectionism and you just are really in that self-sabotaging behavior because you're constantly playing over all these negative thoughts about yourself, just think of it like a ski hill, in that every time you deviate from that negative groomed path of I'm not good enough and you say it's okay, I'm just learning, even that little bit of self-compassion and forgiveness is starting to create those new neural pathways. It's starting to create that new way of thinking for yourself. And each time you do that, it gets more and more ingrained. When I started therapy, I started journaling, and journaling was so helpful for me in really realizing what kind of beliefs and what kind of thoughts I was having on a daily basis about myself, and slowly changing those things to compassion, even if it's not necessarily like the most opposite of your negative belief. And I actually teach this in my course that's going to be coming up, called From Imposter to Empowered, the mini course. So I have the podcast named that, I have my Facebook group, and now I'm turning it into a mini course. But I teach you belief bridging. And belief bridging is going to be a really great way for you to start off with more neutrality when it comes to changing your negative thoughts, because you can't go from completely negative thoughts about yourself to completely positive. It's not enough for the brain to recognize. It's not believable to the brain. So we do belief bridging. But every time I met myself with more compassion and more self-forgiveness, I was able to pull myself off that same groomed track of negative thinking and like be thinking something new, and slowly change those neural pathways in my brain. And that's what compassion and self-forgiveness does for you. And with this ritual, you're going to feel so much lighter. You're going to feel so much better. There's going to be a hypnosis, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes for my Facebook group. And then when you join the Facebook group, you will be able to see the events. And when I schedule it, I'm not quite sure right now because I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but it will be scheduled by the time I schedule this podcast and it's out and you're listening to it. So make sure you go to the link in my show notes and click that. And I can't wait to have you. Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast with me, Jillian Perrick. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram story. And don't forget to tag me at Your Coach Jill. Of course, I'd love for you to rate the podcast 5 stars and leave a review. And if you screenshot your review and send it to me at Your Coach Jill on Instagram, I'll send you a free gift. At the very least, make sure you follow me on Instagram, again at Your Coach Jill, for tons of free content, strategies, and inspo. See you next time.